Morning, everybody, and welcome to 15 minutes Chassidus in the morning. Learning Basi LeGani, Hachana for Yud Shevat. 15 minutes to change your life. Okay, today we're going to start discussing Parak Base of Basi LeGani from the Frierdiker. And basically, so we ended off talking about in yesterday, in the first parak, ultimately that Hashem wants to live in this world. He wants to be revealed. He wants to be sensed and felt and have a relationship with us. And the way we cause that to happen, with our Shvi, we want to bring it back down into the world, bring Mashiach, is through the way of Iskafim, is Hapcham. And taking control of our lives, making the right choices, recognizing that when we're doing the right thing, it's not just because, and it's meaning, it's not just to eat healthy for eating healthy sake, but eating healthy in order, as it says in Tanya, to break the clip and Sitra Achra and to connect ourselves more to God. And we're making the right choices, because it's connected with Elikus, with godliness. So now we're going to discuss how to implement it more. Page 8, number Parak base. The divine service in the Mishkan and in the Beis HaMikdash centered around the task of Birurim, the refining materiality. So let's see how it was. We talked about how we should make for Hashem the sanctuary. And that's and he'll dwell within us. So we have to make ourselves the Beis HaMikdash. So we're going to discuss the parallels between the Beis HaMikdash and what we have to do within our own Beis HaMikdash. So one of the things in the Beis HaMikdash was the avodah of birurim, refining of materiality, through the subduing of man's physical nature, which brings one to a yet loftier goal of transforming darkness into light. And what it means for us is, like we talked about before, that first it's iskafia, and ultimately it's hapcha, that you transform, not just you subdue, you make sure you make the right choices, but you transform yourself to see everything differently, to do things differently. For this reason, one of the modes of divine service in the sanctuary was the offering of sacrifice. And this is why we brought karbanos. This was not merely a physical act. The participation of the Kohanim and Leviim who accompanied the offerings with their hymns and musical instruments, being that you had a Kohen and a Levi playing music, it demonstrates that these sacrifices were a spiritual mode of divine service taking place in man's soul. That it wasn't just a physical thing, but it was the music, which is more spiritual. So it was happening when you brought the carbon. It wasn't just you brought a physical carbon and that's it. It was also happening something within us, within the person bringing the carbon, in the personal sphere of a man's service of God. So what does it mean for us? In Avodah, the theme of a sacrifice, of sacrificial offering, is alluded to in the verse, Adam ki yakim mikem carbon lavaye min abehema min abako min hatzayin takirus kabanchem. It says in the pasuk, when a man who shall bring from you an offering to Hashem, when a man shall bring from you of the cattle, of the herd, and of the flock, shall you bring the cattle offering. So all of the opening words here is a little bit problematic, because it says, if the intention of the verse was simply to describe the laws of the offering of a sacrifice, if it's just trying to teach you what are the halachas of bringing a carbon, it would have said, a man of you who shall bring, and so on. A man of you, meaning when one of you go bring. But it says, a man who shall bring, as well known, however, the transposition, a man who shall bring of you, it shows that the verse intended to teach a fundamental principle of the sacrifices, insofar as they are carried over into every man's personal divine service. A man of you who shall bring, meaning when you bring your carbon, if it's coming to teach you just about the halachas of a carbon, it would have said, a man of you who shall bring. No, it would have said, a man who shall bring from you, meaning when one of you go to bring a carbon. But it says, when you come and bring a carbon, implying that it's not every carbon you have to bring, technically. But the fact that it says, the implication of the pasuk, Adam mikem ki yakim, a person from you who will bring, which implies that you will bring. Not, if it's trying to teach you halachas, you should say Adam mikem, a person from you, Yaakov, that will bring, which means if someone is going to bring, but he's not saying if someone will bring, he's saying when you bring, implies that this is an avodah for us. This is something that we're all going to do, we all have to do. So what does that mean? The interface should thus be understood as follows. The verb uses here of bringing an offering is Yaakov, which has a common root with the verb meaning to draw near. The yaakov means to bring, but also means to draw near. Karev. And indeed, the function of the sacrifices was to bring one's spiritual faculties and sensibilities closer to God. And the purpose of bringing the carbon wasn't just to give animals and shecht and bring up carbonos and put them on a fire. It wasn't just a physical thing. It was about getting ourselves closer to God. The opening Hebrew phrase can thus be understood to speak of a man who seeks to draw near to God. So what is it really talking about? And for us, is Adam ki yakriv, and a person wants to come close for the karev, and a person wants to come close to godliness. How does it work? And the regular order of the word of the verse now allows it to be interpreted as follows: if a man wants to bring an offering, i.e., if he wants to draw near to God, then this is from you. Adam ki yakriv, and a person wants to come close, mikem, from you, meaning it's dependent on you. Depending on you, there's possibility and responsibility for the closeness of a man's connection with God lies within himself. So we're going to say, so we learned yesterday's class that we have to come and we have to do a bit of iskaf and ishapcha. But a person is going to come and say to himself, me, I'm not shaykh. That's not me. I can't do these things. Who am I to do such things? So the pasuk is teaching us, Adam ki yakim mikem, karam ba mikem, b'chem talui. It's dependent on you. If you want to come close to God, you can do it. But don't come and think you need something special. It's all in you. It's all up to you. Let no man say, how shall I approach God? He may well know his essential lowliness. He may well realize to what degree he has tainted his soul through improper conduct. He may well grasp the prodigious distance that he has thereby imposed between himself and God. But in answer to his question, the Torah shows him, your nearness to God is all from you. It depends only on yourself. So when a person comes and realizes where they're holding, and they realize they haven't davened 6 months, let's say, or they haven't done whatever it is, or they're eating what they shouldn't be eating, or whatever they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, they say to themselves, what's going to be with me? What am I going to do? How am I going to do? I'm stuck. So he's saying, no, the pasuk teaches us, Adam ki yakim mikem, bachem, it's dependent on you. If you want to come close to God, don't worry about where you're holding. Realize it's up to you. You might even realize that you're holding such a good place, but don't give up on yourself. Because the pasuk is teaching us, it's dependent on you. If you want to come close, you can. For it is within the reach of every Jew to say, when will my deeds approach the deeds of my forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? So a person can say this. No bounds, block, or obstacles, whatever, can prevent a Jew from elevating himself and attaining closest to God. And nothing gets in the way of this. We can do it. Even though we could have been doing the worst things for the longest time, we still can do it. Moreover, Hashem does not confront his creatures with unfair demands, but bestows his revelation and his light upon each individual according to his capacity. And even more, not just you can do it, Hashem's not going to give you something that you can't do. So if you want to do it, you want to get close to God, for sure you can do it. But it's dependent on you. You got to figure it out. You got to figure out where you're going wrong, what needs to change, and work on it, and not give up on yourself. In the words of the Medrash Rabbah, when I make demands upon them, I do not demand according to my capacity, but according to theirs. And it says in the Medrash, Hashem, when he demands from us, it's not according to what he expects, what he can do, but it's according to what we can do. Hashem knows what we can do, and he recognizes it. According to each individual's personal potential. So if you think this is not shaykh me, I'm not possible, me, you do know I'm holding, you have to realize that it is, because Hashem gives you, because he knows you can do it. And you can and know that what we can achieve is infinitely more than what we're achieving now. Like the Rebbe said to our Steinsaltz, and Steinsaltz, he sat there, I heard that he finished work, doing his things at 2 a.m, and he'll be back at the office at 9. And this was, I heard, like when he was already in his 70s. He came to the Rebbe in the, I don't know when, in the early years, not early years, but I'm saying in like the 70s, 80s, and he asked the Rebbe, he's like, I'm like so busy, what can I take out of my schedule? So they said to him, add more. Now this guy, he translated the Talmud, he wasn't doing nothing with his day. But the lesson for us to realize is that we have a lot of potential. And the only thing we've got to realize is we've got to push ourselves and realize that we can do it. Hence, no hindrance can prevent one from rising to attain a closest to God. The first lesson then that the verse about sacrifices teaches a man who seeks to draw near to God is that the capacity to do so is mikem, from you, depending on himself alone. Meaning we want to get close to God, we can do it. And we don't have to go to a mountain. We don't have to run away. We don't have to do anything. We have to realize it's all on us, in us. We can do it. The same word, however, holds not an implication. The sacrificial object to be offered is not only an actual animal, rather as three words of our verse teach, Mikem Karban LaHashem. From you shall there be a sacrifice to Hashem. The object that needs to be sacrificed is the animal within man's heart. So what do you have to bring out to get close to God? A nefesh Bahamas, i.e., his animal soul. After stating in general terms that the offering to God is to be brought of the cattle, the verse proceeds to enumerate the detailed category of animals that need to be sacrificed. Of the herd and of the flock shall you bring an offering. Adam ki yakum yikem, when a person wants to come close to God, Karban LaHashem, when you want to get close to God, you have to bring up a sacrifice. Mina behema, mina bakim, mina tzayin. 3 types of animals. Because there's 3 general types of nefesh Bahamas. To get close to God, you have to bring up your nefesh Bahamas. And there's 3 types of nefesh Bahamas. Of the herd, of the flock, shall you bring your offering. For every man has his own distinctive task of self-refinement. One man has to sacrifice an animal nature that is as gross as a goring ox. Someone is wild like an ox, and he comes in person, talks, and they do things, and they're just wild and they're rough, and they say things that afterwards they need to say sorry for. They're just rough, and they say things and they're hurtful things, and don't even are sensitive to what they're doing. Another has to cope with an animal nature that resembles a sheep. Another person's like a shipseller. The animal soul is a lot simpler, but it's it's simple, it's easier. Albeit an animal, but at least more docile. So it is nefesh Bahamas, it is an animal, but it's a lot more calm. Doesn't go burning bridges and having to go fix it after. The meaning of each of these categories in a man's personal divine service is discussed at length in Kudshat Tefillah. And we talked about this in Kudshat Tefillah, like we just did before from the Rebbe Rashab. What parak was it? It was in, let's see, 4? Let's see. He doesn't say where it is. But yeah, we learned over there. A few places quotes from Kudshat Tefillah about the animal song. The verse closes on the same lines. Takrivus karbanchem, you should bring your karban. You, plural, should bring your offering. For each individual has its unique challenge of self-refinement. When the offering of the actual animal was brought in the Beis HaMikdash, it was sacrificed on the altar. The Talmud in Yuma relates that it was consumed by a divine fire that crashed there like a lion. Rashi explains that a fiery coal fell from heavens during the time of Shlomo. As the fire would come down and eat up the carbon. So too, the Zohar speaks of a lion that would consume the sacrifices. This heavenly fire that has its counterpart, so what does that mean for us? Remember, we're contrasting what it was in the Beis HaMikdash to what it is in ourselves. Just like the Beis HaMikdash brought out, just like in the Beis HaMikdash, we brought a carbon. So too with us, to get close to God, we have to bring a carbon, which is the carbon have to bring to God is our nefesh Bahamas. Also in the Beis HaMikdash, the carbon that you brought up got eaten up by a fire. So what does that mean for us? The heavenly fire has the counterpart in divine service that takes place within each man. There is a flame that flares in his divine soul. Your nefesh Elokis has a fire. This alluded to in Shir Hashirim, Eshaper Rishpei Eish Al Heves Yud Kei. It calls a fire, the flame of Hashem. Medrash Rabbah cites in Yalkut, liken this fire to fire from heaven. It does not consume water, nor is it quenched by water. So the fire doesn't get put out by the water. Similarly, the fiery love of God in the divine soul of the Jew cannot be quenched. This is alluded to in the next verse in the Shir Hashirim, that the many waters cannot quench the love, nor can rivers drown it. This fire, talking about this fiery love, this passion. The water cannot drown. Nothing can get in the way of our connection to Hashem, can destroy it. The turbulent waters are the wires of making a living and the other confusing disturbances that distract a person from his divine service, from the study of Torah and the observance of the mitzvahs. Despite all these disturbances, rivers cannot draw this fiery love of God, cannot drown this fiery love of God, for it resembles heavenly fire that nothing can extinguish it. Yeah, so he's saying that the different types of animals have to be brought up. That there's a fire that comes, and the fire is the fire passion of the kiss that ultimately has to come consume the Nefesh Bahamis. And we're going to discuss to get the Nefesh Bahamis involved in what you're learning and what you're doing. And he's saying that the coldness or the water that come distinguish the love cannot extinguish it. That even though the Nefesh Bahamis has his thing and his desires that come take you away, but that's not going to come extinguish the love. And we're going to discuss on Monday how to get the Nefesh Bahamis involved. Thank you very much for joining, and have a great good Shabbos.